Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today actually I've gotten really good responses from my interview, naturalization interview and its process. So I actually wanted to follow it up with some of the things that happened before this, right? So before this, I had been an Indian citizen living in the United States. So I kind of wanted to go through some of the process on how I um, applied for a new passport or like a reissuance of the Indian passport prior, like last year. And then I'm gonna go through a couple of other things that I had to do after I got my American citizenship as well. So I'm gonna follow a series of 3 or 4 videos now chronologically so that you guys can actually follow that process, especially people going through the same immigration trajectory. So I wanted to put this out here based on popular demand. If you like my past video from the naturalization and the oath ceremony video, please hit the subscribe button here and do like it and share it with some of your friends who might be going through the same process. Happy to help here. And today I would like to share Indian passport renewal in the United States. And I think when I did it, it was Cox and Kings, and now I think VFS have taken over. So I would start by going to the passport guide services guide for VFS Global. By the way, VFS has done an amazing job as well. All the things that I have done throughout the process have been all online. There have been no visits to the Indian embassy. I mean, they've done a really good job. So I want to actually pretty much show you how to do the passport. So you pretty much go to the VFS Global website and look at the passport services. So under the step-by-step guide, the first thing is you pretty much need to do is find out what is the type of application, right? So it can be for reissuance of an Indian passport, which was my case in the last year. It was expiring and I had to reissue my passport. And the other scenario obviously can be someone from India or an Indian citizen had a child born here, so they can apply also for new passport for newly born child in the United States. So that's step number one. So in my case, it's reissuance. So after you figure that out, you pretty much jump in right there to begin your application, right? So pretty much you follow the steps, you open this up to start with the online form directly on the Government of India website, right? So once it loads, you pretty much go and select the region from where you're applying, in our case, Americas. It pretty much gives you this North and South America, and then in our case, it's United States. So it'll ask you to either register on the Passport Seva website, either register or log in. So I actually just have a login because I just applied. So once you log in, so you come to this homepage and you pretty much click apply for an ordinary passport, unless you have any other scenarios where you have a police certificate clearance or a diplomatic passport. I mean, whatever applies to you, but for like most people, it is the option number one, which is an application for a regular ordinary passport. So again, you are doing a reissue, and reissue reason is validity expired, damaged, or validity expired within. So this is what I have selected, or I had selected. I pretty much applied during normal process. I think you have to pay extra for Tatkal or like expedited. And then I just applied for the regular booklet, which is 36 pages. Once you do that, you pretty much enter your name exactly as in your old passport. Select your gender. You pretty much say, have you ever been, called with other aliases? No. Have you ever changed your name? No, unless if somebody is married and if they change their last name, they can always select yes. And just gonna say, just make sure you select date, month, and year. So make sure, like, since you live in America, sometimes we confuse the date fields with month. Make sure you again follow the old format, which is DDMMY, so that you don't make a mistake and then you might have to start the process again, right? And then you can always say your birth, place of birth as per your birth certificate if you have access to that. Place of birth, if your place of birth is outside of India, you can select that. And if it's no, you just have to select your state. In this case, I'm just doing a fictitious one. Once it loads, marital status, based on what you have, you can click that. Citizenship of India by birth, that's the right one. PAN card if you have it, voter ID if you have it, employment type. You can always say private, and then educational qualification is between graduated and above. Is either of your parent, in case of minors, spouse a government servant? I mean, right now they're retired, so you can just say no. Is it eligible through another ECR category, which is, it pre-selected to yes. I'm not sure why, but if you don't have any visible mark, you can write none. An Aadhaar card, you can always type it up if you have it. Otherwise, you can just leave it blank. I'm the holder of this Aadhaar card number, which I think this is a new section that they added. Hereby given consent to Passport Seva to obtain my Aadhaar card number. So they're just asking consent that if you didn't provide it, they can access other data to kind of get to your Aadhaar card number if necessary. So that's pretty much it. So you pretty much check all your details, make sure everything entered is correct. Please enter Aadhaar card number. So if you don't have an Aadhaar card number, just hit no. Make sure you give your parents information exactly as it was in your previous passport, right? Don't make any spelling mistakes, otherwise you're just gonna have to redo it, or if they send something, you might have to send some additional documentation, right? Legal guardian, if you have one, you can otherwise leave it blank. If you have said married in your previous, you can, in your previous screen, you can always enter your spouse's given name. This way, actually, when you get a reissuance, this is actually super valuable because you have your spouse's name added if you weren't married in case of your previous passport, right? So make sure you give your correct spouse's name based on her passport details. So this is again a fictitious name and same last name. Obviously, don't, make sure you give all the right information. Just on step 3, this is actually a pretty good guide that they put together. So it kind of helps you. They will give you presence of applicant is not mandatory at an Indian address. So this is a good one. You should add your American address in terms of where you live. So it's just, this is again just a so pretty much just put whatever is the right one. Put your valid phone number. And then if is your other address, the other address details is your other address outside of India, you can just say, you can put in your previous address or the address that you had, right? So you can always put your Indian street address, which was there in your previous passport, in case you still have it. So you pretty much do it the reverse order, because you can always quickly pick in the zip codes or the postal codes in this case. This again. You pretty much go to next. Sent me an error here, so I'm just gonna do this one for now. It is kind of confusing. I mean, they kind of wanted to point out that, but it wasn't highlighting where I needed to do it. Again, enter a correct emergency details that is for any other reason, so you can always put in your legal guardian or your brother or your friend, but again, give the right details. You can always provide their email and phone number, like home house number if available, but at the same time you can always leave it blank. And then now you actually have to enter your previous passport details, right? So this is where don't make a mistake again. Make sure you got all the proper documents next to you when you actually do it, because this is a tedious and a lengthy process, and all you don't want to do is make mistakes, right? So do it a little slow and make sure you have the right documents next to you so you can actually scribe it correctly, right? Place of issue, date. You can always select the right date. Again, make sure you have the right date format. June 5th and then it would roughly be a 10-year expiry date from your date of issue. So this is again a fictitious date, so this would be sometime around here. Again, date, so it'll be 4/6/2021. So again, you can always apply 6 months in advance before your passport actually expires, which is kind of what I did. So you kind of entered the number, the place of issue, date of issue and expiry, which is super important. And if you have the file number handy, do go ahead and provide that. Details of previous current diplomatic passport, right? If you were a diplomat or like any other special passport, make sure you hit the right thing here. If you're like a person that never had it, similar to mine, you can always say details not available. Have you ever applied for passport but not issued, right? Was there any scenario where you did something and you withdrew the application or something? Hit yes. If not, generally you just have to hit no. It might be the ARN number on file, so you might have it for sure. And then this is pretty much like background check kind of questions, right? Are any proceedings in respect to any offense have been committed by you pending? No, but yes, if you have something, please don't like say something that's not true, because you might get in trouble, right? So most of the answers for this should be no, but again, if you have a yes, make sure you have supporting documents for that. So just be cautious of that and always provide accurate information, right? So was there any court case against you? Have you ever been convicted in India by any court? Have you ever been refused or denied passport? That's a no. Has passport been impounded? No. Has your passport been revoked? That's no. Have you ever applied, been granted citizenship of another country? At that time when I applied, it was no. Have you ever applied for a passport of another country? No. Have you ever surrendered your Indian passport? No. Renunciation, etc., which I'll actually follow up on my surrender process and the renunciation process in my future videos. But for now, when I did this, those were no for me for sure. Have you ever returned to India on an emergency certificate? If somebody has an emergency, they have a chance to get this certificate. So in my case, it was no. Have you ever been deported? No. And then have you ever been repatriated from any country back to India? So that answer is no as well. So once you get to this stage, this is pretty cool. So they kind of give you like a pseudo view of how your passport might look, right, with your details, right? So make sure your last name or surname, your given name, your nationality, your place of birth, your birth date, date of issue, etc. I mean, this will be printed when they do it, but all these things, your like gender, etc., looks accurate. Your parents' names, first name, last name, your spouse's name if you have opted to add it, and if you have a spouse and add it here, your new address which has been added here, and your previous passport details should always be linked to your new passport. So this is, again, it gives you kind of a review, so make sure you do it correctly. And yes, so please make sure you review it correctly, because if there's a mistake, you pretty much have to do a new application. So make sure that this is super accurate. And then again, they give you one more proper verification for all the information you provided, not just those 2 pages that we saw, right? So you pretty much see you're doing a reissue. It's a normal application, not an expedited or tatkal, under regular circumstances. Regular booklet, you validate all your details, make sure you don't make any mistakes, check all your addresses, your spouse's names, your parents' names, last names, your birth date, and previous passport details, because these are certain things that if you make a mistake, there is a chance that you might be asked for extra documentation, which is valid, because they have a bunch of things to verify, and they cannot afford to have these mistakes at this stage. So make sure you check everything and you hit submit. I'm not going to do it, obviously, because a lot of these details are fictitious and I just don't want to submit it right here. So if everything is correct, you pretty much put where you are. You can type in the city closest to where you are. You should hit I agree and then submit, right? So the moment you do that, you go back to the home page. I will show you that on this home page, and you will pretty much see a ARN number selected, a file number that will be given to you, your name, and what is your application type, right? So once you do that, you will get a print option. You select that, like print application form, just as an illustration, and then you hit print, right? So just make sure you have a couple of copies of these, just in case, if you botch a signature or like something like that. Make sure you have a couple of copies printed, and then you pretty much are done on the Government of India website, right? So once you finish that form, you come back here to the VFS website for step 3 and 4, right? So once you've completed the passport website, you pretty much download the application. You have your ARN number. You will get an email as well on your valid email ID that you provided. So make sure you save that email. That's a super important email. And then you proceed here to the VFS website for the next steps, right? So what VFS does is the rest of the things, right? They take the application. This is super important. They've made it pretty streamlined, right? The next step is to create a profile and pay fees, right? So if you never had a VFS profile, so this is a step where you create a VFS profile, and then you pay the fees here, right? There are multiple ways to pay that, and I'll show you that as well. This step must be completed before you send the physical application to VFS via mail, right? So now, due to COVID, there's no walk-in appointments, there's no in-person appointments. Everything is online, right? So make sure when you send it out from a FedEx, all the documents are checked, double-checked, and signatures are checked. If there's a notary required, those are checked, and then send it, right? Because you want to give them the best possible application for them to process it quickly without any delays. So if you take your steps, you will be fine. I did it. Everything was smooth. Everything took place within the timeline. They quickly approved it and they sent my passport, right? So everything loads correctly. There you go. It finally loaded. So you kind of like just select this based on what you selected. You come here, you select passport, create application, you select normal. Then you say, what is your passport application around? So is it a fresh passport, or is it passport going to expire or already expired, 10 years validity? So that is what mine is. What state do you live in? So they know that obviously you're within the United States. You pretty much enter the state that you live. What is the closest mission, right? So it automatically assigned it, this is useful, and like, please don't send your application to the wrong mission. So they totally reject it for sure. The only option now is available is postal. Return is postal as well. It's very streamlined. There's nothing to be confused about. They're doing a very good job. So I actually prefer the online payment method because it's pretty much paid up front, and then they email you the receipt, which you will actually put it with your physical application. So that's good as well. Like, that's been accepted. And in one of my applications, I've also paid with a money order. So you pretty much go to a bank, you get a money order, which I feel is more complicated, but it's up to you, totally up to you, whatever is easy for you. Do you have a legal status? You can say yes if you're on any type of visa, and then you can obviously select the right one, which is adult. Give the right information again here based on what you want, and then you can again choose between a 60-page or a 30-page, but 36-page. But since in the passport application you said it's a 36-page booklet, it is the original booklet, which is the original booklet, and if the 60-page one is the jumbo one. So make sure you give matching information to VFS as well as on your application. Do you want any other miscellaneous service, right? There might be any other things that you might want to change between your old passport and new passport. So you can do that if that is valid. If not, just select none of the above. Just enter the CAPTCHA and you can proceed here. So if you're an existing password, if you're an existing user, you kind of enter your details, give the right CAPTCHA information, and you kind of log in. You log in and you say your mission or the center is DC. Your application is based on your reissuance of a passport. In case it's lost, you select that, and if you're renouncing or surrendering your Indian passport, that is the option. And you will say that your passport is going to expire or is already expired if it is, and then you can select your payment method. It's either you can pay it online right away, I can show that along, or you can go to the bank, get a money order or a banker's check. But I actually honestly prefer this, even if there's a small fee. It's pretty quick and easy. So you hit continue. So here, once you come for your application, you will actually add your application. So here you will enter your ARN number that you kind of got. So this is pretty much very well explained here. Application reference number or ARN number in terms of passport applications or reissue or any other things. So you kind of write pretty much, enter that, select a booklet type. Again, you can select ordinary. Passport number, that is in terms of, they've added this new feature which is good, because for Indian passport reissuance, enter the Indian passport number. Date of birth, passport expiry, place of birth, passport issue, so it should be based on your passport, place of issue, nationality India, gender, select your service, normal. If you want to pay, if Tatkal, if for any emergency purpose, make sure you select that. And you hit give Maryland. Give your correct email ID. This is super important, because once you hit submit, which I'm not going to do, you will get an email confirmation of your successful application that's added, and it'll actually go to the payment method page. It'll take you to the interface. You kind of finish your payment there, and then your process will be completed, right? So once you finish step number 1, what type of application that you qualify for. Second, you fill the passport application on the website, which is the government website that I showed you here. Step 3 is you go to the VFS website and you fill in and you pay with the correct government application form, because VFS is pretty much processing your payment with the right application number. So they will take your payment, and then the last step of this process is actually printing and submitting all your documents, right? So if you want to see, you need to go to document checklist. So you go here, go to reissuance of passport information. So this is like a page where you get all the information for required documents. Reissuance for an adult, so you click this one, and if it's for a minor, you kind of click this one. This is super important. Again, take a print out of this, because this is actually your cover letter kind of a thing for the application, right? Print this out. Again, make 2 copies, one for your reference, one you need to send it out. So provide the right details, applicant's name, passport number as your previous passport, your correct email ID and phone number, because they actually send you status updates. So you kind of want to enter your right email ID and your right phone number, because they sometimes even send you texts that, you know, the stage of basically you can track it. So this is actually a must. This is the most important of the documents, right? So kind of like going through, read through all of this. This is super mandatory, and the things that you need to send, right? So government application form, original copy that you printed, sign it, make sure you sign it and date it correctly, and you put your phone number and email ID correctly, and also your 2x2 photographs, which I will come right here. After that, in case of minors, make sure you read through the correct documentation, because you might have to give in sworn affidavit from both the parents, since they cannot sign. So make sure if that's the case, you have to do that. For adults, you actually also have to give a sworn affidavit. So This is pretty much telling that it's an annexure E. These are my details. I am truly giving all the information, residing at X, Y, and Z street, state and city, correct date of birth, names of your parents and your spouse, sign it. And you will have to, I think, notarize it. So make sure you fill that out, annexure E, in original, and if you had any appearance change, etc., this is just a sworn affidavit, and then you kind of tell them that you're giving them all the right information, right? So that is over there. So you have the government application form, you have the sworn affidavit, you have your birth certificate. Again, it's for minors, copy is required. Valid status of the in the United States. So if you have a green card, copy of your green card. Make sure you self-attest it towards the bottom. If you have a visa, take a copy of that from a passport. Again, self-attest it. And if you have multiple things, make sure you send most of the things, right? If it's an EAD, if it's a valid I-797 approval notice or a work permit. So make sure you send more than what is asked. And they've kind of mentioned it, take a color copy and get it notarized, right? So these are super important documents, so they want to have it notarized. So make sure you get it notarized. Make sure you get your sworn affidavit notarized as well. So make sure you go to the notary in one trip and do all of it at once. Then your proof of address. Again, take a colored copy of your state ID with the address that you actually entered on your application. If there is a difference, make sure you send one of the utility bills. Again, take a colored copy, one should be enough. Take it with a stamp and notary, right? So this is super important. Don't miss this step. They've clearly mentioned it, just do that. And again, if you're taking a copy of your front and back of your license, you can do it on one page. Just make sure you place it correctly. And then you don't need to cut it like to size it like that. So make sure you just send them the proper sheet. Again, color. Don't print on double sides. This is a no-no for these kind of applications. Make sure you only take single-sided prints. Colored prints. Make sure whatever is needed for notary, make sure you get your notary done. When we come to photographs, so it's standard. Go to any CVS or Walgreens. Just take a passport size photograph, 2x2 works. Just wear a blue shirt with light background, not super white, and you should be good. Make sure you send them 2 photographs with the application. Send your mandatory Indian passport, like send your old passport. So not copy, you literally need to send your original passport along with your application. So if you, and then next comes the fees. So if you have already paid, like how I have done, make sure you have a printout of that email that you get of the receipt that you made your payment with. So make sure you take a printout of that. I think it's a couple of pages. Put it with this order, put it with this application to tell that you paid with your correct ARN number. So make sure you paid the fees on the VFS site with the exact same application that you applied, because if you made a mistake and you changed it, then you're going to be in a fix, right? So make sure you double check everything. The other few things that you might need if you're applying for minor is parents' legal status, if a child is born. So that's the case, copy of passports of both parents, self-attested, notarized copy of legal status, again for parents in case of minor. If not, should be good. And then lastly, this checklist itself, right? Make sure you send this checklist. Don't forget this, because this is super important. This helps them organize their documents. So don't make their life difficult. Make it easy. And then these are documents required if you have lost or damaged passport, right? So if you don't have any of those, don't worry about it. But if you do, please go and check it. And then like some additional things you can still send it, right? If you have your Aadhaar card, if you have a recent bank statement, with your photograph there, if you have a driver's license from your Indian address, right? Or if you want to change your address within India, if your parents moved, or if you're like, if you had something like that, if you need the new address there, you need to have some proof of that. So Aadhaar card, if you have it, works. Copy of that with the new address should change that for you. Again, if you have a name change, make sure you have an original which is notarized with stamp and notary signature. For that, that link is provided here. If your parents had name change for some reason, attach that. Additional things in case of people who need to do these are not required for all regular applicants. Court order by judicial officer. For other reasons, if you have any issues or court cases pending against you, etc. So you shouldn't worry about these. If there is a birth certificate that you have or your school leaving certificate, please send a self-attested copy, right? Make sure your signatures match with the application. And then again, any other supporting documents for your Indian address, right? If you have it, send it. The more, the merrier. Make sure you sign this checklist. Don't miss this. Please make sure you sign your application as well as your checklist with your correct date. And then they have another few common mistakes. This is actually super helpful. I'm not going to go through all of it. Read through all of this. Make sure you don't make any of these mistakes. It's pretty straightforward. A lot of things like a quick thing that I can tell you is handwritten documents are not accepted, right? So everything like the VFS form is a printed form. The government form is actually printed. So don't go and make changes or corrections with your pen on top. That is like, they're gonna reject it. So don't do that. And then again, the other important thing is do not print on double-sided sheets. Do color printouts if you can. I mean, you should actually, it's actually mentioned here. Color printouts, and you should single side only, right? That is like a very, very easy mistake that you can avoid. So I think if you have all this, you put it together, double check it, make sure you have your documents, go through this a couple of times, and put it together on your suggested FedEx box or like other carriers that they have actually given pictures. Like, I mean, this is super easy. They kind of give you the pictures of the envelopes. So you put that, and then you kind of go to your VFS account again. And when you actually finish the application, you have this option called download courier labels. You click on it, you actually get a PDF generated, which is a shipping label to VFS. Don't worry about the return label. They have the access for that, and they will print it and send it to you. So go through these steps. I think you should be fine. They've made it fairly straightforward. It's done very smoothly. If they have any questions, they will reach out to you via email. But if everything is in order, within a few days, you kind of get it. So based on different missions, at least I've experienced, Washington DC has been pretty responsive, and they kind of do it on time. I have not seen any delays. So hopefully everyone goes through that. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please comment below for any questions, comments, concerns, and even any feedback for me, right? If there's any improvement that I can do, please put it down there. Like this, subscribe, and share it actually with people who actually need this. So keep watching. I'll be Travel VK, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.